So in this video, I'll tell you the best Quest 3 settings that you will need to enable as soon as you get your hands on this headset. Few people know that Quest 3 is packed with so many cool little features, but because many of them are buried deep within the settings and sub-settings, it may be hard to find them. And many of these features are also available on Quest 2 and Quest Pro, so hopefully this video is going to be useful for all of you Quest users. I'm also running a Quest 3 giveaway on my channel, and if you want to enter, just watch the video linked in the description to know how to do that. So what I'm going to do is I will put on this headset and I will walk you through all of these settings and how to find them. Let's do this. The absolute number one feature you need to enable is right here in this system under display, 120 Hz refresh rate to make all your games look butter smooth. Simply toggle the switch so that you can enable this amazing mode, but also be aware that this is going to affect your battery use. It's probably going to die much faster. Your headset might heat up faster as well, but this refresh rate is going to make your games look amazing. If you don't want your headset to go to sleep too fast after a short period of inactivity, you can increase the auto sleep headset, say from 15 seconds to 1 minute or even 2 minutes. I believe the default was 15 seconds and I changed it to 1 minute because I don't want my headset to go to sleep too soon, and you can find that under power. That is the only option here. Another really important feature that you need to turn on is when you go to software update, right here there is a setting called automatically power headset to update, and that basically means that your headset will be briefly powered on if there is a software update available, so that it will update even if your headset is turned off. That's really cool because then you will not need to wait to update the software when you put on the headset and you're ready to play. It will only be ready for you whenever you put on the headset, as long as there's enough battery on your Quest 3 to perform this update. Now we're gonna go out of the system and to physical space, and this is where it's going to get interesting because you can create your boundary here. You can set the floor level. That's something you do at the very beginning when you set up your headset. But one thing I like to change on all my Quest devices is the boundary sensitivity. So by default, you have this simple boundary sensitivity that is set to somewhere like this, close to high. This basically means that you will see your boundary even if your hand is relatively far away from it, just so that you're aware of your surroundings. I switch it to advanced, and right here you have control over headset's distance to the boundary, controller's distance, and also the headset speed sensitivity, meaning if you only get close to the boundary for 1 second, it is not going to show if your sensitivity here is low. Now, the way I play, I actually prefer the low sensitivity because I don't like seeing the boundary out there, and I would rather set my Guardian a little bit further from the walls. That's why I set the boundary sensitivity to the lowest, which means that it will only show if you get really close to it, and that works for me. This is the settings that I do first on all my Quest devices. I lower the boundary sensitivity so that I don't see that boundary too often while playing. There's also the pass-through menu selection in the physical space, which allows you to turn on pass-through while you're here in your basically home space. So now my actual office is my home space, but if I turn it off, then I will be in this meta world. This is just a way for you to be away from your surroundings, but I prefer having the pass-through on because the quality is really good on Quest 3 and I like seeing my room while I'm in here. But a quicker way to do that is here in your quick settings. There is a menu that says pass-through on, and if you notice, there's also boundary off, which means that when I'm in my space, then the boundary is turned off because I can already see where the walls are. Why do you need those boundaries here? It's very smart that they allow them to turn off. So when the pass-through is on, the boundary can be turned off, and that is pretty great. Going back to the physical space settings, there's also space setup, and I definitely recommend you to set up your space. That basically means that you will not only set up your walls and your floor and your ceiling, but you can also set up mixed reality objects such as your tables, your chairs, your windows or doors, anything. And I definitely recommend you do that because then you will have a more accurate experience when you're playing mixed reality games that are relying on your room room. It's just going to use a more accurate representation of your space to render the virtual reality experiences on top of them. Many of the experimental features that used to be experimental on Quest 2 and Quest Pro are now moved to the official settings, but still there's something very cool here. My favorite experimental setting to turn on is swipe typing. If you're not familiar with swipe typing, it's a way for you to type not by clicking on each letter that you want to type, but just making swipe movements from letter to letter until you've matched the word that you want to type. For example, if I want to search for a game, I can do it much faster with swipe typing. For example, let's look for Green Hell VR. Instead of typing Green, I can simply press the trigger and swipe until I have spelled out the word, which will be much faster. Green. There you go. And then I found Green Hell VR. Propagation Paradise Hotel is a long one to spell. If I were to type it by swiping, I would do propagation. There you go. It worked. Wow, that's pretty precise. I love it. So that was much faster, and I use swiping on my phone all the time, and I type so much faster like that. If you aren't using that, you probably can enable it on your phone as well, but now it's also available on Quest, and it's really, really cool. Typing is going to be so much easier now. Moving on to your devices right here, go to controllers, and you will be able to change the vibration sensitivity of your controllers. Definitely recommend you set them to the highest. There's also different cool things here that you might not know about, such as you can switch controller thumbsticks, you can switch the buttons, or do a complete controller remapping right here. And I think that is really cool if you want to change the default mapping of your controllers. You can even change the thumbstick angle and the range and dead zones. This is a really cool way to really personalize your experience with these controllers that few people know even exist right here in the Quest 3 menu. Then go back to movement tracking right here. I definitely recommend making sure that your auto switch from controllers to hands is on, because that way you will be able to simply place the controllers away and then put your hands in front of you, and they will automatically be tracked. So this switch will be very seamless, and then when you grab your controllers, it'll switch back to controllers. So this auto switch is very handy, especially when you're switching between games that use controllers and that use hand tracking. You definitely want to have this one turned on at all times. And speaking of this switch, make sure that the auto switch sensitivity is set to high so that you don't have to wait too long for the controllers to switch to your hands and vice versa. When you go to accessibility, there is quite a bit of cool features here that you definitely need to check out. There is a color correction menu that allows you to adjust the colors you see in your VR headset depending on your vision. If you have any of these conditions, you can actually set up the color patterns in your headset in a way that you would be able to differentiate these colors, which is an amazing feature for accessibility. You can also change the text size. By default, it's a medium, but you can set it to a large. I'm not going to try them right now because I would need to restart the headset, but you get the gist. If you feel like this text is too small for you, you can change the size and make it a more convenient experience for you. You can even change the contrast of everything you see on the screen if this is going to make it easier for you to differentiate the text and other objects. A very cool feature in hearing that was added in one of the last updates is live captions, and it is exactly what it sounds like. It's going to add the text version of anything that people are saying or of anything that you hear on the videos or game trailers and so on. So if you enable it, basically, if you play any game trailer, it is going to add live captions to that trailer.
Is that you? I didn't recognize you at first. You're all grown
It has a
up.
little bit of a delay because it's live.
Do you remember the curious...
I think it's pretty cool that they added this accessibility feature because it works not just with videos but also with live speech, like when you're talking to your friends, and then it's going to auto caption everything they say, and I think it's pretty amazing. You can also turn it on right here in the quick settings menu. Live captions can be toggled off and on, so although this one is a little bit buried within the settings, it has a very quick way to enable them right here. If you don't want to share any data analytics with Meta, which I completely understand if you don't, go to Privacy, select Data Analytics, and here make sure that you turned off all of these data points. Share additional data to improve MetaQuest, help improve the MetaQuest keyboard, and help improve MetaQuest dictation. All of this data that can be collected by Meta to improve their technology, but at the same time, many users absolutely do not feel comfortable sharing that data. I do not share that data. As you can see, everything is toggled off, and I recommend you do the same if you want to keep your data as private as possible. So these are the basic settings that I definitely recommend everyone turn on your Quest 3 as soon as you get it, but these are not all little things that you can do with it. I'll be compiling a new video with all sorts of tips and tricks that you can do with this headset, so make sure to subscribe to DiscoVR so that you don't miss that very useful video that's coming up on DiscoVR. Thanks for watching and see you next time!